in the show right now. Jeff Darlington. Jeff, are you there?
Jeffrey!
I am. What's going on? How we doing?
Good, man.
Good this morning. All right. Before we get to hot news or not news, let's start with the conversation we had yesterday about the MVP of the NFL after Lamar Jackson's performance on Monday Night Football. Jeff, who is the MVP of the NFL at this moment?
Man, I hate this conversation. Remember who's the MVP of the NFL? I'm going to pour water all over this, and it's not very cool of me. But remember who the MVP was after Week 5 of last year? We were talking about Russell Wilson, like just hand him the trophy finally. And then all of a sudden, he tapered off toward the end of the season. It's so hard. I mean, look, if we're going to do it, I say Josh Allen
Jeff,
or Kyler Murray.
Jeff, I'm not asking who's going to be the MVP. I'm saying it's Week 5. We've seen 5 games.
Right,
who's the MVP right now?
Away.
Yeah, boy. Yeah.
I'd have a tough time not giving it to Kyler Murray, to be honest with you. I mean, he's got Arizona at 5-0, and he's playing lights out. So I know what Lamar's done. I know what Josh Allen has done. But to be fair, and I don't know that Kyler Murray's going to wind up with it at the end of the year, right now, it's hard to overlook what he's doing in Arizona.
Yeah, it is hard to overlook that. It is hard to overlook that, Jeff, but I need you to go back to sleep and wake back up and look at what Lamar Jackson has done despite not having the same type of weapons that Kyler Murray has had in his arsenal. They discovered a running game in Arizona. There's no real running game in Baltimore. There is no A.J. Green in Baltimore. There is no DeAndre Hopkins in Baltimore. And need I say, there isn't, what else is there not in Baltimore? Christian Kirk in Baltimore. I mean, when you start to look at the packages and the things, they discovered a tight end in Williams. And so even though they have Mark Andrews in Baltimore, he's certainly playing with less talent around him from an offensive output than Kyler Murray.
I agree with you, Key, on Lamar Jackson to this point, but I'm going to give a little future projection here, Jeff Darlington. I'm going to go with Josh Allen. You said his name before. Like, let's not get it twisted. 12 TDs and two interceptions, 188 rush yards and 2 TDs. Like, they're the best team in the AFC. You saw it on the biggest stage when they played against Kansas City. And think about their schedule, guys, coming up. At Titans, Dolphins, Jags, Jets twice, Colts. Like, their offense is going to get a chance to continue to be prolific, averaging 34.4 points a game.
I think at this moment, I was all prepared to say it was Kyler Murray going into Monday Night Football. I think by a hair, it's got to be Lamar Jackson for the reasons that Key pointed out. Look at the offense that he's been responsible for by himself and some of the wins he has, including over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and then the comeback on Monday Night Football. I think it's Lamar by a hair over Kyler at this moment. Are we ready to play hot news or not news?
I like that.
Let's do it. Tom Brady is dealing with a thumb injury. Here's what he said yesterday.
The quarterback's right hand is important at the end of the day, so it's not like it's your left hand. If it was my left hand, I wouldn't even think 2 seconds about it. But, the fact that it's your throwing hand, I mean, there's not many things that are that important to a quarterback other than probably your right shoulder and your right elbow and your right hand. So anytime, you get banged on one of those, it could be an issue. But like I said, I think there's no serious injury at all. So it's just more of discomfort, but I think that should be gone here in the next day or two.
Brady's thumb injury, Jeff, hot news or not news?
It's not news. I'm inclined to say anything that's dealing with Tom Brady is news, but I just know that after the game, I was at the game the other day, this was not something that was overly concerning to him then. He was able to throw in practice. Like, the guy won a game when his thumb was completely ripped open back with the Patriots. He required stitches, and he still won. This is not even close to that. This is more just a matter of soreness. Not news. Not news.
Key?
No, it's certainly not news. I mean, it's really move on from that. Quarterbacks always get a little nick or bruise here. Tom Brady doesn't miss games. I'm not worried about it at all.
Jay?
All right, let's go to the next one then, since we all agree that's
Jay,
not news.
Hot news or not news, brother?
Well, I mean, whenever Tom Brady has a cough, it's hot news.
Of course it's hot news.
He has a scratch on the knee. It's hot news.
The GOAT has an injury on the thumb of his throwing hand. It's hot news, whether you like it or not. And then if it turns out fine. But that's the reason we're talking about it.
That's not news.
Chandler Jones is on the COVID-19 list after a positive test. Is it hot news or not news, Jeff?
Well, I mean, look, you heard me talk about, I'm going to say it's hot news. You heard me talking about the Arizona Cardinals earlier. I mean, this is a 5-0 team. This is a team we need to be paying attention to. And I don't know that everybody would have expected that coming into this year, given the division that they're in. So Chandler Jones, who's played like an absolute beast this season, absolutely deserves our attention if he's potentially not on the field. So, yeah, it's significant for the Cardinals.
Certainly hot news. There's no question about it. Whenever you're missing a guy like Chandler Jones that gives them that edge, that gives them what they need on the defensive side of the ball, you pair him with J.J. Watt. We saw what he was doing earlier in the season, what he continues to do. The sack total isn't all the way up there like it was against Tennessee, but he is one of the leaders on the defensive side of the ball. And Jeff, you know this as well as anything. He's trying to get paid. He doesn't have time to be missing.
Yeah, exactly.
He's trying to get that check.
That's right.
He's trying to get that bag. So it is hot news.
All right, Jeff, Tua Tagovailoa can come off the IR this week and is likely to play Sunday. Hot news or not news?
That's hot news, man. I mean, look, this is very significant because the Miami Dolphins, without Tua, have proven not to be a very good team. And the pressure was on Tua coming into this season to show that he could elevate himself to where people believed this team was. And in his absence, we've quickly realized that this team is not what many believed it to be.
Anything away from the Bucs, you can only play the teams in front of you. But if you're still looking about who they played, that matters. We talk about that on this show. We talk about in the NFL. Oh, the Panthers are 3-0. Well, look who they played. Like, who you play matters to when you win a championship. So my thing is looking at the Bucs, they are still right there. But based upon what I've seen this year, thus far, I still would have the Brooklyn Nets and the Lakers slightly favored over the Milwaukee Bucks.
Jay, Milwaukee didn't grow from their experience from
1,000%. 1,000%, Key. I'm not saying that they didn't. Obviously, getting Grayson Allen really helps. I think with Dante DiVincenzo, that he was out last year. Losing P.J. Tucker hurts. Like, it's certain parts that I think for this team you're starting to wonder a little bit about. But I still think they are there. Key, let me ask you this question, because you watched the Hoops games with me last year. When you watched them, did you feel like they were the overwhelming favorite last year? Would you say, knowing what you've seen them play last year, are they the favorite this year for you?
Well, they grew on me, right, because there was so much reservation about what we were going to get out of Giannis. But he showed me something. Remember, I told you when he came back off the hyperextension knee that was big boy to me. And from there, it almost felt like that things just grew for them. And I take the experience, much like you did. Let's go to your college career at Duke. You look at it and you learn from whatever mistakes that there were throughout the course of the season. So when you had the opportunity, right, to run it back, you did what you needed to do. And I look at the same thing with the Milwaukee Bucks. It was so much, Coach Bud, is he going to get fired if he doesn't get out of round one? Is he going to get fired if he does? Go ahead, tell me all that stuff.
No, that was a conversation as it relates to scheme. Look, the Milwaukee Bucks are a very talented basketball team. I mean, they did lose P.J. Tucker, who defended Kevin Durant, the best we've seen anybody defend Kevin Durant last year, Key.
Yeah,
to the Miami Heat.
He was
to the
in
Miami Heat now, okay? So I think that was a big loss for them from a defensive perspective. I'm not saying they can't be there, but there was nothing that last year, watching them make that incredible run, that made me think this year, considering the way the pieces have moved in the league, where I'm saying they're the favorite in the East.
Look, the fact
just because
is,
they won a championship last year.
The fact is there was a condensed schedule last year. And whether it's correlation or causation, there were more major injuries to star players last year than any playoff I can remember in the NBA. And so we got a funky result in the finals. We got the Bucks against the Suns. That ain't going to happen again. And I know that they both got better, but when you look at barring injury, okay, it could happen again, but barring injury, if the Nets were at full strength, no one's stopping them in the East. If they're at full strength. Without Kyrie, game on. And if the Lakers are at full strength, they are going to be a whole lot in the West. And really, for me, it's with Kyrie, I think most people would say Nets are going to win this thing. Without Kyrie, now what? Are the Lakers the favorites to win the whole thing? You still say the Nets are favored over the Lakers without Kyrie?
I think there's some factors that go into that. Who gets number one overall number one seed? Are they playing the games in Brooklyn? Are they playing in LA? I love all the pieces that LA has as well. We're talking about one of the most prolific scorers the game has ever seen in Kevin Durant, and one of the most innovative offensive players the game has ever seen in James Harden, both in their prime. LeBron James, back-to-back seasons where he's coming off slight injuries. I'm not saying LeBron James is not one of the greatest players the game has ever seen, right? But LeBron James, we saw, like, how much gas does he have in the tank? Can you count on Anthony Davis? Now, you can make some of these same questions about Kevin Durant. Second year off Achilles injury. Will James Harden be healthy? I just think the age of the Lakers is something that factors into why I would still have the Brooklyn Nets slightly favored over the Lakers.
James Harden showed up looking out of shape like a hot mess in Brooklyn, rolled out of bed and was giving him 30 points with a triple